Welcome back to Kevin Toll Reads. I hope you're doing well. It's time for a book review. So today I'm going to be reviewing Sphere by Michael Crichton, and you're thinking, hey, that's not an indie or self-pub author. Yeah, I know. I like to read a physical book and listen to an audible book, usually at the same, not the exact same time, but I like to bounce back and forth between them. And since a lot of the indie and self-pub authors are not on Audible, at least some of the ones that I will be reading, I needed an audible book, and so I picked up Sphere. It's definitely, I think I've read it 3 or 4 times now. I really enjoy it. It doesn't take a lot of effort to be thinking about it as I'm doing other odds and ends. And yeah, just a fun fact, I also started listening to a Jack Reacher novel. Just FYI. Probably do a video later this month as well. But back to the original topic. This book, Sphere by Michael Crichton, was published in 1987. There was a movie that came out in 1998, and it starred Samuel L. Jackson, Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone, Liev Schreiber, and I'll get into the movie versus the book a little later. But I also wanted to make mention that I did a Why You Should Read Michael Crichton video about a year ago, and I will try to either put it up here or link it below so you can check it out if you're interested. My thoughts about a year ago about Michael Crichton, yeah, the videos have definitely changed. So let's dive right in and talk about the summary of this book. So the summary is pretty simplistic in a way. You're kind of thrown right in. Dr. Norman Johnson is the main point of view that you get throughout most of the story. And it starts with him kind of on a helicopter. He's trying to figure out where he's going and why. See, Norman usually goes to airplane crashes. As a psychologist, he's there to help people through the grieving process, and he thinks that's where he's going, but he's very mistaken. He's going out in the Pacific Ocean, which he thinks still is a plane crash that happened in the Pacific waters. What he uncovers is that the Navy has kind of cordoned off an area because they're under top secret orders from the president. And when a cable company was laying, I think it was fiber optic cables in the ocean, it got sheared by this wing of this unknown origin craft, and it ends up being a spacecraft. And it's been untouched for over 300 years, sitting under 1,000 foot of Pacific. And how they know that is based on the coral and its rate of growth and its length and whatnot. But as the team coalesces, you realize that there's not only Norman, the psychologist, you have Beth Halpern, who is a zoologist, biologist. You have Dr. Harry Adams, who's a mathematician, and you have Dr. Ted. He is a astrophysicist, and the 4 of them hook up with Captain Harold Barnes, who is kind of the Navy's kind of liaison and kind of the team leader of this group. And they realize that they're going to be going down to this habitat that sits down on the bottom of the Pacific by the spacecraft so they can investigate what's going on. And that has its own kind of anxiety. But that is kind of the summary, because when they get down there, things start happening and they start uncovering some other things. And I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting book. And so what I enjoyed, obviously, I think Dr. Norman Johnson as the main point of view works really well. I like him as a psychologist because this really is a psychological kind of thriller, especially as things start amping up when they uncover within the spacecraft something that seems to be helping them manifest things. Yeah. And I think there's also a really good job from Crichton in picking these characters. You have smart people, but very driven people, that, especially with Ted, who is very jealous of like Harry and others. Beth, who apparently had a relationship, outside of the confines of a doctor-patient relationship with Norman. And so it creates this thing. And as Captain Barnes is realizing, Dr. Johnson, Norman Johnson, when he wrote apparently this ULF proposal for the government, he basically was just half at, and he kind of wrote it like thinking this is never going to happen, and he did it for the money because I think he was making a down payment to his house. And so all of these things kind of create this quagmire of an interesting tale that all kind of comes together very, very well. It's decently paced. I think it flows nicely. It's not super fast. It's not super slow. It's just right in that middle spot that works really well. I liked some of the who's doing this and why, and as you uncover things. There's some great excerpts as well. What you fear, you create is an interesting one. The greatest danger is not the unknown, it is what we bring with us. Very fitting. We are our own worst enemies. Another pretty fitting one for the story. And last is, this isn't a question of aliens, it's a question of us. And that's very fitting as well. In terms of criticisms, I do have one. The ultimate climax, the ending of this thing, and I don't want to get into spoilers here, so I'm going to be kind of vague, but if you've read this, you'll kind of understand what I mean. How they go about dealing with kind of the debrief at the end, how they propose that, humankind isn't ready for power like this, I thought was just kind of corny. I really do. I still, to this day, after several rereads, the ending is the ending, and I've kind of accepted it over time, but it seemed like a hard way to end a book in the story, in my opinion. But it is what it is. That's my only criticism for this book. In terms of rating and overall, I give it a 4.5. It's a good one. It's paced decent. The characters are enjoyable and great and have their own little conflicts. I think there's a good amount of action and conflict in the story. The book really, for me, at least, is the power of kind of human imagination, and it showcases that we don't always do good when we have power to use. And I think that's definitely an underlining theme for the book. In terms of if you would like this book, if you're fans of psychological thrillers, you liked movies like The Thing or Event Horizons, this is definitely up your alley. Readers enjoy science fiction that blends kind of philosophy and suspense. You would like this. And if you're a fan of Crichton, you like the Andromeda Strain, Jurassic Park, you're probably going to like this book as well. And if you're more into kind of action-heavy books, more kind of a reader who dislikes ambiguous endings, or those looking for kind of detailed world building and alien stuff, this one's a little more abstract, and you're probably not going to enjoy it as much. Now, if you stuck around this far, let's talk a little bit about movie versus book. Yeah, I've seen the movie a couple times, and I actually watched it this week as well after I finished the book, just out of curiosity again. So I'm going to get into a little bit of spoilers here. So if you're looking to read this book, probably now's the time to turn off the video, for you at least. But the movie was done in 1998. Again, it stars Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone, Samuel L. Jackson, Liev Schreiber, and they play the main characters. The director, I think, was Barry Levinson. And so, there's a couple differences, some big ones. The ending is different in the book and the movie. In the book, it's about forgetting. It's a little ambiguous. At the ending of the movie, they do something similar, but what happens with the sphere is completely different. So I'm just going to throw that out there. The atmosphere is completely different from the book and the movie. The book is more tense. It's kind of a slow build up to a major burn. I think in the movie it's rushed. They get into some of that. It's not as atmospheric, I guess you would say. In the book, there's themes of kind of subconscious fear and power of the mind, wherein the movie, it's toned down. It's more focused on action and visuals. I think the character depth in the book is much more psychological and exploration, where in the movie it's more trope-like. They play very heavy-handedly regarding, especially Ted being, again, kind of having jealousy towards others, especially Harry. Yeah, and I think there's a couple other differences as well, but they're less noticeable. But those are the big ones. But yeah, that's my take. Michael Crichton Sphere. Really enjoyed a reread of this thing, especially, being able to listen to it on Audible as I did other things, and kind of circle back. It's one I haven't reviewed on the channel, so I'm glad to add it. And I'm not exactly sure if I have a Michael Crichton playlist on my channel, so I might have to create one because I definitely would like to read some more from Crichton. But yeah, that's my review. I hope you're having a great day. I'll talk to you later. Thanks.